Hey, it's Bearded Man Steve here. I hope you're having a better day than you did yesterday, and look for something beautiful, because there is something beautiful around all of us, even if we got blinded to it. I was asked about misdiagnoses and the problem with mental health. I figured I would go over it once again. Now, I have talked about how it should be run about getting a brain scan, getting a DNA test for medicine, so it can tell you, that can diagnose you, and then it can also, the DNA can tell you what medications is more likely to help. Also, what is maybe okay, it's okay to try, and what is flagged never to take. And then you see a professional for your diagnosis from the brain scan. But let's talk about the misdiagnoses here. And the main reason why so many people are misdiagnosed. One, mental health field around the world hasn't changed overall. No, a lot has changed, don't get me wrong, but how it's done hasn't changed in well over 100 years. The people treating it looks in a book and says, oh, you got these symptoms, okay, this is what you have. That's basically how mental health was over 100 years ago, and it's basically how it is today. Now there's a lot more diagnoses, there's a lot more all kinds of stuff than there was over 100 years ago. But how it's all done hasn't changed. Doctor just looks in a book, goes, yep, this is it. And main problem with that is every single mental health diagnosis has symptoms of other diagnoses. So like borderline personality disorder looks very, very similar. It has a lot of the same exact symptoms of CPTSD and PTSD as well. So that's one main reason for misdiagnosis. So many symptoms overlap. So many symptoms are in both. So it's easy to say, yes, you got this, but when in actuality you have this, because you're going by symptoms. And also a lot of places now, and I hate this, are not even diagnosing people. They're just, oh, you got this symptom, okay, take this medication. Oh, you got that symptom, let's just take that medication. So they're not even diagnosing the clients. They're just pushing along the problem instead of treating the diagnosis, which will greatly make people better by getting the brain scan and the DNA test. But let's go over the one issue that I see with doctors treating patients today, and it's worldwide. It's not right, and it's crazy. Now in America, we have, depending on how you look at it, two versions, books that we can go by for the most part. Really one, but there is a second one. Most of them go by just the one. Most of them, not all of them. The good ones go by both and more. Now let's look at the DSM-5, the main book of the how it's done in America. It's got 20 chapters in it. It's got 450 distinct definitions in it. And it's got 947 pages of information. Now, don't get me wrong, that's a lot of information. There's a lot of good in that book. But that's too much for a doctor that treats everything. Like my last doctor that I was seeing 2 years ago, his thing says he treats 80 different diagnoses. How can he treat? There's no way. That's too many diagnoses. And he's going by that book. where a lot of the symptoms are exactly the same. So he's not able to do what I would say proper care. Okay. The second book we can go by, but it's only by a few. I've only seen 3 actual doctors have it. Is the World Health Organization book. And it's called the IDC-10-CM. Now, that one's a little bit difficult to deal with because it's not just one book for mental health. It's one book for everything, just about. Over 1,200 pages long. But the one thing about it is the mental health section is chapter V. That's one thing to remember. It's chapter V. And in that chapter, there's 70 diagnosis codes for mental health. There's 10 main groups of mental health. And there's 374 pages. Now, they don't add what you would call normal diagnoses, the common diagnoses of mental disorder. They only focus on the multiple of the bigger things. They don't look at the minor things because that's common knowledge, the way they look at it. Okay. So there's still a lot of information. And actuality, it has more than the DCM-5 if you subtract the minor stuff. It actually talks about more. And a lot of times after the World Health Organization puts something new in there, then they'll put it in the DCM-5 later. That tells you something right there. Like the DCM-5 doesn't have CPTSD, even though it is a proper diagnosis. But the IDC-10 does have CPTSD, so that's why I'm saying the DSM-6 will have CPTSD, and it's already guaranteed. I know for a fact. I've read some parts of it. The European Handbook of Psychology and Mental Health is a little complicated. It's actually in 2 books, and in those 2 books there's 33 chapters. Now it's mental health psychology plus also professionalism from mental health. So it's a little bit hard to go by unless you're reading it specifically. But that's a lot of information. That's the problem with mental health. That's why so many people are misdiagnosed, is because it's overwhelming. And you cannot diagnose people easily this way because there's just way too much. You're looking at different symptoms and you're looking through the going, yep. But there's also symptoms that people don't realize are symptoms. And therefore, doctors don't know that's a symptom because the client doesn't even know it's a symptom. But doing the brain scan, seeing the diagnosis through a brain scan, what the client doesn't know are symptoms, but the doctor can still diagnose them. So that's the problem with mental health. That's why so many people are misdiagnosed. That's why there's so many addictions. That's why there's so many different problems. So I just want to let this information out there because it is informative. And even in these books, there is a ton more mental health disorders than what's in these books. So, like I said, the DSM-5 doesn't have CPTSD. It will next one. And some of the ADHD is changing in the next one for the DSM-6. Because things are ever changing. And there's ton more mental health disorders that's not in them that are real mental health disorders, but doctors won't even acknowledge them. Some doctors won't even acknowledge them because it's not in those books. They have to go by those books even though it is a legit disorder. So I hope you're having a better day. Good luck to you all.